Ahoy, ahoy, everyone. Welcome back to The Shelves Have Eyes. I'm Fantom, and today we'll be doing a review and unboxing of Transformers Studio Series 86, Commander Class Megatron. I've been trying to get my hands on this figure since it came out. Thankfully, I was able to pre-order the package refresh? Yes. Package refresh of this toy through Big Bad Toy Store. And I needed to get my pile of loot shipped to me, and so this came in the mail. So I'm really looking forward to this because probably one of my favorite figures of last year was the Commander Class Optimus Prime from Studio Series 86. I reviewed and unboxed that figure, and then I also did the Toy Hacks upgrade for him, as well as a new head. I don't have Toy Hacks or any kind of third-party add-ons for this Megatron. Let's just do this and let's see what it looks like. With the package, you get this nice windowed view of the figure itself, and along with this artistic rendering of Megatron in both his robot and his new tank alt mode. It says here he transforms in 54 steps. On the side, it's just continuing the same artwork of Megatron raising his fist, and we have a little bit of Autobot City. This looks like the observation tower that Devastator crushed with his bare hands. On the opposite side is the exact same image of Megatron's. On the back, we have a nice image of Megatron shortly before he sees the Autobot shuttle carrying Optimus and the Dinobots, as well as, Sunstreaker, Hound. Who else was in the shuttle? Sunstreaker, Hound. There was somebody else in the shuttle. Doesn't matter. Devastator has just breached their defenses, and he has just said, let the slaughter begin. So here we see a CGI rendering of what it is supposed to look like in both robot and its alt vehicle mode. Here we have what looks to be a recolored blaster arm holding Megatron's gun arm. I don't know exactly why that is. I believe, if I remember correctly, somebody was saying that they didn't have a Soundwave figure to hold the gun, so they just used the figure that they had on hand and then recolored it to look like Soundwave. I don't know if there's truth to that or not. He does look good in this image. This image does noticeably not have the dark legs, lower legs, that the figure itself does. He is shown all in essentially one color. So I don't know if that was a precursor to what we got in the More Than Meets the Eye collection release of this toy, because this toy was re-released just this past year as Battle Damage Megatron, Battle of Autobot City, in the More Than Meets the Eye collection, which is a Target exclusive. Both Megatron and Optimus were re-released with battle-damaged faces and chest plates. However, crucially, there is no battle damage to the rest of their bodies. It is simply their chest and their heads. I actually had the opportunity to look at the Optimus in store the other day. First time I've ever seen it on a store shelf. And the colors were slightly different. They were a little bit brighter red rather than the cherryish red that the original Optimus was. But I was just kind of dismayed by the fact that it's really just a slightly altered head and chest. And there is no battle damage and no kind of difference to the actual rest of the figure itself. For Megatron, for the More Than Meets the Eye collection, his lower legs are painted this color, which matches the rest of his body, rather than this, which does not. I know that when this figure was first announced, there was a whole very vocal group of people that were decrying the fact that Megatron had darker colored lower legs, but it was rightly pointed out that he does actually have darker colored lower legs in the movie. So I don't really see where the naysayers come from. Also, the original toy, his lower legs were black. I mean, the original G1 gun mode, his lower legs were black, so this is kind of a nice stopgap in between the two. So yes, this Megatron does transform into a tank. He does not transform into a gun. You can really justify that any way you'd like. It doesn't really bother me. If we're going to be entirely honest, I don't really care what Megatron's alt mode was. Yes, the handgun, the Walter PPK handgun, is an iconic alt mode for the character. I mean, the character would not be as popular if he did not transform into a gun back then. However, I mean, I'm the first one to freely admit that, you know, sometimes when things are changed because of changing cultural awareness or cultural mores, sometimes those changes aren't bad. Sometimes those changes are made for a reason, and I'm not going to get up in arms over the fact that he doesn't transform into a gun. I think that's just silly. Especially since the robot mode looks so pristine. This robot mode looks amazing. I have some problems with it, but I'll get to that. Just looking at this rendering, I've got problems with it. But I will look at the actual figure itself, and we shall see. But no, having him transform into a tank is perfectly fine. I've got no problem with that. He's been a tank more often than he has been a gun in the rest of the Transformers shows. I mean, you've come to associate Megatron with being a tank. I mean, all the way back from G2. The huge, wildly out of proportion Generation 2 acid green camo tank mode with the huge rapid fire missile thing and the voice box. I mean, that was a tank. And people didn't really have a problem with it back then. And I don't know why people are having a problem with it now. I mean, yeah, it may seem slightly jarring because this is supposed to be a Studio Series 86, and it's supposed to be transformed into a version of the robot that looks just like it did in the movie, and then its alt mode is supposed to be right from the movie. But you know what? I'm not gonna get angry at this. I'm not gonna get angry at this. Much like Studio Series 86 Shockwave and his upgrade kit, he's probably going to be staying in robot mode more often than not. I'm probably not going to transform him into his tank mode, really at all. I've got plenty of tank Megatrons for that. In any case, with the box out of the way, how about we open this up and see what it looks like, shall we? Alright, so right out of the package, you get the Megatron figure itself, you get his fusion cannon, you get the laser sword, his turret slash barrel attachment that goes onto his back, and then you get him in his alt mode. And you get instructions, of course. So, just like the aerial bots and most of the other Transformers figures of really all of these recent lines, you need to do some fixing in order to make him actually ready to play with right off the bat. Megatron's firing himself, how perverse. In any case, articulation is nice, the figure feels heavy. I'm just going to take all of his attachments off. That's just kind of silly. He only needs the things that he needs for, you know, transformation. All right, all told, I'm looking at it for the very first time, and my initial impressions of the figure are mostly positive. I would say that the only negatives that I have with this figure, just right off the bat, looking at it and just handling it for the first time, are the barrel is too short and the back half with the blowback chimney is too long. I realized that they had to do that to accommodate his tank alt mode, but it just looks weird. It doesn't look right. Like, if anything, this should have been on a slider, so this could slide down lower so that his barrel was longer and this was slightly shorter. I mean, it's fine. I'm sure that DNA Designs or something has put out something or will be putting out something to fix that, and I'm sure there's no end of third-party 3D printed pieces you can get to fix that minor issue. He does have ankle tilts, which is very nice. His legs feel particularly sturdy, quite honestly. I'm going to say, does this... He did have side skirts in the original design, but this could also just cover his behind. And it would just look just as fine. It would just... Either way, you're exposing one part of his joint. You're either exposing the side of his joint, Or if you put those back, you're exposing his backside. The only other thing that I would say is I feel like his upper arms aren't weighty enough. His lower arms are enormous. And I mean, I guess that matches his appearance in the movie, but this is way too small. It gives him a very strange proportional look when you're standing looking at him straight on. He just doesn't look like his upper body is as muscular as you'd imagine it would be. The face is spot on. This is a tremendous face. It looks just like he walked off the movie. Unlike Optimus. Optimus's head was my biggest problem with the Studio Series 86 figure. That head was just not really Optimus. I mean, it's not as bad as some other Optimus heads that we've come across recently, but definitely not among my top, let's just say. But I think that they really got his likeness right. And for the most part, the figure is fine. I actually really like it. Nothing feels cheap. Everything feels very solid. Very solid. Yeah, it's just his shoulders. His shoulders need to be slightly beefier. He needs to have slightly beefier shoulders. I mean, maybe there'll be a DNA design kit or something that will fix that particular issue. For his legs, I don't really have any problems with his legs. He's got full range of articulation, like you would expect of any toy of this modern age. He has ankle tilts. The paneling in his legs does kind of have a tendency to pop open when you move his foot a lot, but that's not really tremendously different or really strange. I don't like the fact that this is very loose. Every single time I move his arm, this is just rolling over back and forth. I don't know if that's just a defect with this particular one, but profile-wise, I mean, there really is not a lot of, there's no open space on him. There's no negative space on him, just like there wasn't on Optimus. It's really, really well done, and his tank treads being his calves is a really smart move. No, all told, I mean, this is a tremendous looking figure. He looks really nice. He looks really nice. He's hefty. Like all Studio Series figures, he has his weird little stubby index finger so that he can point out how or where he's going to kill Starscream. I belong to nobody. No, all told, this is a really good-looking figure. Really good-looking figure. I mean, he is as clean as a whistle. It's I can't really think of anything else to say. I mean, I'm really kind of impressed with this entire thing. You can do Gymkata. Here's the whole crew together. Studio Series 86 Shockwave with the upgrade kit. Studio Series Soundwave. And now Studio Series Megatron. Have to wait to get a Starscream, I guess. But all told, these three scale incredibly well together. Yeah, I mean, there's something slightly off about Megatron's torso. It doesn't quite seem wide enough. His chest plate is very wide, but that wideness does not extend to his arms at all. It's a he's very strange proportionally. There's something very off about it, and also the fact that this is a recessed panel on either side, it makes his arms seem very scrawny, as if they're inverted, they're convex. It's very strange. It's not really even an optical illusion. It's just the way that the mold is made. It seems very strange. He looks very bottom heavy, if that makes any sense. Whereas Soundwave is very top heavy, and Shockwave is just kind of lithe. He's really not top or bottom heavy. Megatron is definitely bottom heavy. almost all of Megatron sits in his legs, all of his weight. I think that Soundwave is perhaps a little too chunky. Quite honestly, he's just a little too chunky. I know that Soundwave's design in the movie is slightly different than it is in the TV show, and he does look slightly chunkier in the movie than he did in the TV show. I've got no problem with the Soundwave figure. I think it's a fine Soundwave figure. It's not my preferred Soundwave figure, which is still the Masterpiece version. I don't know about this Megatron, though. It's really starting to bother me. Here, I'm going to take... Yeah, see, stacking him with Optimus, he looks a lot better. These are a little bit better, because Optimus is supposed to be about the same size as Megatron. Maybe we should kiss to ease the tension. Yeah, pairing him with the Optimus, Commander Class Studio Series Optimus figure, the figure looks really nice against him. I don't know how he looks with Soundwave. Something just seems off about that. Overall, it almost feels as though there's slightly more stylization.
Butterfingers?
Slightly more stylization with this Megatron figure. I mean, Optimus is easy. He's all straight lines. He's very boxy. Megatron, though, he's supposed to be straight lines, but really what we get here is very curvy lines. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying anything wrong. I'm just saying that there's something slightly off about it, and I'm really trying to put my finger on what exactly that is. But no, I'm very satisfied with this figure. I'm very happy with the figure. It's a tremendously nice figure. It's nice to have a Megatron that is, you know, a G1 Megatron. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look at that. I'm not really quite sure what's bothering me about this figure, other than what I've already talked about. Let's transform him and see what he looks like in tank mode. All right, so here is Megatron in his alt mode, his tank mode. And I have to say that the biggest difference I really can think of between this and Studio Series Optimus is simply the complexity of this transformation. This was tremendously difficult to transform. I usually like complex transformations, but this one is just a little strange. There's so much folding. There is so much complexity to it. I'm actually as impressed as I am frustrated by it. It took a long time to transform this, to actually figure out what the instructions meant, because there were a couple of times where I just could not figure out exactly what I had to do. I could see where the end point was, I just couldn't figure out how to get there. So I did have to look at the instructions for this. It's very nice. I mean, I previously reviewed the Siege Megatron mold, which was Voyager class. This is leader class, really. If not only in terms of size, but also just in terms of complexity. I really like it. I think it makes a much more attractive tank than the previous version. And once again, I really don't have a problem with the tank mode. I think this looks really good. If only Blitzwing got the same treatment as Astrotrain and they made a new mold for him for Studio Series 86, I would imagine it would look a lot like this. Everything folds together very nicely. It does have wheels on the bottom, so it does roll. It doesn't have the fake little rounded nubs that some of the other toys have had. It's actually really impressive simply because there is so much intricate folding required. This is the most folding I've done to transform a figure since a Masterpiece, really. And I think that overall the body of the tank is very clean. It's very clean. And it retains all of the hallmarks of what makes Megatron Megatron. I mean, I think there's no argument that they took a lot from Transformers Devastation for this. Because that was that really one of the first times that Megatron's alt mode was a tank? I mean, G1, Megatron's alt mode was a tank. I mean, technically, I guess the War for Cybertron, Fall of Cybertron games, he was a tank in that, albeit a Cybertronian one, so I guess maybe we'll just say that's a G1 tank. I mean, that's also the Align, so like later on he transformed into the weird space jet, so I don't really quite know how we got from there to there, but Transformers Devastation is the first time I can think of where a explicitly styled G1 Megatron transformed from robot mode into a tank. And I didn't have a problem with it in that game, and I don't have a problem with it here. So all the naysayers can say, oh, well, I mean, they really should have done something and had him transform into a gun. And, I mean, just stop with that. I mean, let's not argue that. Megatron still transforms into a weapon of mass destruction, a piece of military ordnance. He now fits in much better with Starscream and a lot of the other Decepticon alt modes in being explicitly a weapon of war. So, yeah, this does not bother me. It doesn't really look like a tank. It's very clear that this is his fusion cannon, and this is his barrel that goes over his shoulder. I like it. It's nice. I really don't have anything bad to say about it. I can't really say that I find it the most attractive alt mode for Megatron. But if you're going to retain the fact that this is a Studio Series 86 figure, so it has to be somewhat screen accurate robot mode wise, I mean, no. The alt mode, he doesn't turn into a gun. But this is a pretty fair approximation. I have no problems with this. I think that this is very good. I do wish that the turret turned at the center rather than offset, because whenever you try to angle it to fire, it betrays the illusion that this is a tank canopy, an actual turret, and makes it very clear that no, it's attached at the back, and he can just kind of wiggle a bit, but the illusion is gone. All told, I think that the colors work very well for this alt mode. All of the red highlight and detailing on his robot mode is hidden by this. Once again, I mean, we have the same thing here with these are darker panels. It doesn't really bother me. I don't really know how realistic that is for an actual tank. I don't think it is. Tanks are usually painted a singular color, but whatever. It's fine. Really, it was purely the fact that it took so long to figure out the arm arrangement. Because these little hinges here, they're double hinges, and they allow him to have increased range of motion in robot mode. But it almost seems as though they shouldn't seat flush. See, there are little depressions underneath here where it looks like these sink in, but that's really just there for his robot mode. And so the fact that they're still there when you transform him made me think that that was how it worked, but it can't, because of the way that you need to accommodate the actual turret of his gun. I like the fact that the accessories clip on. I mean, this is nice, and the fact that his beam saber, if you will, packs very nicely onto the side of the vehicle. It's nice. I don't really, there's very little I can say about it, aside from it is nice, and it looks, I can't say screen accurate, but it looks pretty accurate. I'm just trying to think, aside from a Legends class Megatron that transforms into a really tiny gun, the last time we had something that looked like a real handgun was what? Henkai? The Henkai version of the Classics mold? Because, I mean, Hasbro's Classics version looks like a Nerf gun. Actually, they based it off of a Nerf gun. It looks exactly like one of the Nerf guns that they were putting out at that point in time. I can't remember. It was a very popular Nerf gun that they continuously recycle whenever they change their darts. But it also resulted in that Megatron having wings on his back, because it was part of like a shell former almost. You needed to open up the sides of the gun, and all of his robot mode pieces were inside. But yeah, I think Henkai colored it more realistically than the Hasbro version. I don't have that Henkai version. I think it was the last gun mode Megatron toy we received that actually looked like a gun. That wasn't like Legends class. Once again, I can't really say anything for screen accuracy because this mode is not screen accurate. But for what it is, I think it's a marvelous piece of engineering, and I think that it justifies the price point. So here we are at the end, and I have to say that for the most part, I think that this is well worth the money. I mean, I have my niggling issues with it, but those are all fairly small issues, quite honestly. I think that they kind of pale in the face of the fact that this is an extraordinarily well-engineered figure. I'm extremely impressed with it, both at the fact how screen accurate it is, but also how articulated it is, and how posable it is. So I have very little that I can say I dislike about this figure. It's a very, very nice likeness of the figure. The proportions look great. He has a wide range of articulation he can do. I'm just going to take his extra thing off. So all told, I think that this is it's well worth the price. It just took so long for me to get this figure. I'm trying to think, there is a way to do this, right? Yeah, it's not ideal, but he could theoretically, really tip himself back. My biggest issue with this figure is simply the neutered barrel to his fusion cannon. It's just too short compared to the rest of it. The proportions for these two halves should have been reversed. I mean, I realize that this is part of the transformation to get it to fit into his arms to become the turret for his tank mode, but come on. This could have easily been a solid piece, and this could have slid back and forth. You could have easily made this slightly longer. It's a very small nitpick, but just for argument's sake, this is the fusion cannon from Siege cartoon model. And since it is on a 5mm peg, it still fits. The peg is a little long, but yes, it's not proportionally, it's not right either. But it's better than this. And this is the fusion cannon from the YOLO Park AMK Megatron that I previously reviewed. Light's not working. Is this at least somewhat? No. It does. it's got a long peg instead of a 5mm peg. But, I mean, clearly that is a little bit better in terms of size and length than this. So, just for comparison's sake. See? You just cut off enough there and you add it to the end. But that's a very nitpicky thing for me to say. Then again, I mean, we're Transformers fans, so really all we do is nitpick. But that's really like the thing that immediately draws my eye about this figure is the fact that his fusion cannon is too short. I think that he looks very good. He looks very good. He plays very well. Something about his shoulders still doesn't seem right to me, but I mean, that's a small thing, quite honestly, compared to the fact of how accurate the figure is. That seems something very small. And he pairs well with Optimus, because of course they're from the exact same line. I will defend this third-party head that I bought to my dying breath, because I like it so much more than the head that came with Optimus. This just looks like Optimus. The other one kind of looked like shampoo Optimus. Shampoo bottle Optimus. I don't think I need anything for Megatron. He looks really accurate. So I don't think I would invest in any like alternate heads or anything like that. And just to clarify, this is the Megatron that I'm talking about. This at least fits into somebody's hand like a gun, but it also is clearly a Nerf gun. This was, I think, the last time we got a Megatron that transformed into a gun, that like somebody could hold like a gun. We also have this Legends class figure that also folds into a gun, but this is Legends class though, so I'm trying to find my Gamer Edition Megatron figure, which I know I have, but I can't seem to find him. I can only find the original version of that figure from the original War for Cybertron line. I know I own him. I remember unpacking him and transforming him and saying, huh, this is a pretty nice update to the toy, kind of like the War for Cybertron Optimus. But I can't find him down here. It's possible he hasn't made it down yet. Maybe he's still in my office. I don't know. Who knows what's in my office? I have an office where I do actual work, my actual work, and I used to put new Transformers that I bought on the shelves in the office. But now with my cats knocking everything off those shelves, trying to sleep on things, I don't know where anything is in that office. I thought I took a lot of Transformers out, like the original Earthrise Wheeljack, which I also can't find. So maybe everything is just in my office right now. I don't know. In any case, back to Megatron. It's tough for me to actually think of things to say about this because I feel like I've already exhausted my opinion. I think that it is an excellent figure. I think it might be the best representation of Megatron we've received outside of a masterpiece. It really looks cartoon accurate. It has every bit of posability you would expect to find in a toy of this generation, let's just say. It goes well with Optimus, which makes sense because they were essentially made to fight one another in these figures. They are of the exact same type. Optimus's arms seem kind of small compared to Megatron. But no, logically, I realize they're the exact same size. In any case, let's get Optimus out of here. This is all about the Decepticon Emperor of Destruction, who then gets reformatted into Galvatron. Which is also really funny because Galvatron is tiny compared to this figure. I mean, this is the Kingdom mold rather than the Seduce Series 86, just because I like these colors more than I like the colors in the 86, even though those are more screen accurate. But look at this. Look at this. This is a Voyager size figure. This is a leader class, Commander Class figure. Galvatron is noticeably shorter, but really not by much. His shoulder pauldrons and the bulk of the figure kind of make up for that. And as I said in my Galvatron video and subsequently the Straxus video, I really like this figure. I think it's amazing how they pulled off the transformation and still retain the ability to A, transform, and B, look like he does in the Flora Derry concept art and the movie. So likewise with Megatron, I mean, as I guess I say a lot in these videos, you're paying for the engineering. So this may only be 1/3 of an inch larger than Galvatron, but you are paying for the amount of engineering that went into making this figure and the amount of money it took to manufacture it. With all that being said, I don't begrudge this figure anything. This was, I got this, I pre-ordered the restock of it through BBTS. And like I said, I needed to ship my box of loot. Here we are. So I think he was 60. I think he was 60. I think I paid 60 for him, which is frankly not bad considering Commanders are now $100 in stores. I mean, Silverbolt was 80 when I got him. I used a coupon. Onslaught is 100 at Target now. And Optimus, the original Optimus Studio Series, that came out with the trailer. Butterfingers? Oh, bollocks. He was 70 at that time. So it's just like, over the span of 3 years, there's your jump in prices. I just want to make sure you don't see Optimus's toe dipping into the frame here. But no, if you do have an opportunity to pick up this Megatron, please do so. It is a great figure. I still have never seen the More Than Meets the Eye collection version of this figure in a Target store. I have actually now seen several Optimus More Than Meets the Eye versions, the battle damaged one. I'm not going to pay the price that they're asking for that because I looked at it, and aside from the chest and the head, there is no difference in that toy. It is a slightly different colored plastic, but I was expecting more battle damage. I was expecting it to actually encompass the figure, and it just looks like it's just the front of the torso and his head. And so I would imagine with Megatron, it's exactly the same, except I know that that figure, these leg parts are colored the same color as the rest of his body. They're not as blue as people are saying that these are. But no, I've never seen his More Than Meets the Eye version in a store, and I probably wouldn't buy it even if I did. I mean, maybe if I see it on like clearance or something, I'd pick it up, but this is good enough for me. This is how I want the figure. I mean, I remember the brouhaha when War for Cybertron Siege came out and every single toy was battle damaged, and everyone got up on their soapbox and started yelling and decrying Hasbro for forcing people to buy a battle-damaged version deco of the figure when they should have just offered clean versions. And it's just like, that's a very small thing to get so bent out of shape about. I prefer my toys clean, but I also have no problems with the battle damage present in any of the War for Cybertron Siege figures. But, I mean, I guess the reaction was so voracious that Hasbro did eventually cave, because Earthrise and Kingdom are free from battle damage. But I think I've nattered on long enough. This is an excellent figure. Buy it if you can. I believe he might still be available from BBTS as of the making of this video. I don't know if he still will be when this video is actually put out. In any case, thank you very much for joining me today here in The Shelves Have Eyes. I really enjoyed this figure, and once again, I've got plenty more figures to do, so just stay tuned for more Transformers content. If you did like this content and you would like to see more of it, please leave a like, maybe a comment, and think about subscribing to the channel so you'll know when the next video drops. Subscribers really help the channel. I do, once again, just like every other YouTube channel out there, I will tell you that I have looked at the analytics, and like 98% of the people that watch the videos are not subscribed. I'm not going to get on you for that. I just want people to see this content, so it doesn't matter to me. But if you do like it and you want notifications for when the next video comes out, consider subscribing to the channel. As a joke, I would like some kind of sponsor for these videos because I need some way to offset how expensive this addiction is. But in any case, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you will return for the next video that I do, whatever it happens to be. I keep saying I'm going to start the 13, and I never do, but we'll see, right? In any case, I hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed making it. I hope you enjoyed Megatron. I have been Fantom. This has been The Shelves Have Eyes. Have a good night, y'all.
To fight in disguise, Transformers. When the battle is through, only the strong will survive. Told all I won. Unknown soldiers fighting the war. Use the power.